Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. I'm very pleased to meet you all in this global community, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to present my research in this conference. First of all, I'm Antonio Oliveira, and I'm a concert pianist and piano teacher at the Oporto Conservatory of Music. I'm currently doing my PhD in the Human Neurobehavioral Laboratory at the Portuguese Catholic University in Porto, Portugal. I will present a systematic review of the literature on motivation to learn a musical instrument. This review is part of a more extensive research focused on admission procedures to music conservatories, specifically assessment of 5- and 6-year-old candidates. This presentation comprises 4 sections. In a literature review, I'll briefly mention the theoretical framework from which we departed. In method, I will explain our identifying, screening, and analyzing the article's strategy. In the results section, I will present and discuss our main findings, and finally, in the conclusion, I will suggest some directions for future research and implications on education. Our main aims are understanding how motivation to learn a musical instrument has been studied in previous literature, namely, which theories have been most adopted, which designs were implemented, which quantitative instruments have been designed or devised, and which outcomes have been reached. In line with the scope of the investigation, we restricted our samples to children and adolescents, which comprise the age range of music conservatory students. Qualitative instruments are beyond our scope because they would not be feasible for data collection in a context of limited time for interactions with candidates and parents, such as in the assessment of candidates to music conservatory enrollment. In this review, we depart from the definition of motivation in terms of the energy that drives an individual to initiate a given task, with the level of motivation being seen as impacting on the intensity of this involvement, the level of commitment required to persist with it, and the resilience needed to cope with failure and setbacks. Furthermore, research has shown that motivation is deeply influenced by the support of significant others, like parents, teachers, and peers. For instance, parental support enhances the internalization of the learning process values and rules due to a transfer from external to internal regulation. Several motivation theories have been developed to help the understanding of such a complex construct. Self-determination theory outlines 3 basic human psychological needs: autonomy, understood as the need to feel in control; relatedness, the need to feel connected with others; and competence, the need for mastery experiences and the required skills to pursue a chosen goal. Self-determination theory states that individuals will become more motivated and engaged with activities that fulfill these basic needs. It also proposes a continuum of different motivation levels, ranging from amotivation, passing through extrinsic motivation, until intrinsic motivation. Expectancy value theory states that individuals show higher interest, a concept closely related to motivation, for activities they value the most. This theory helps to explain why individuals tend to engage in activities in which they anticipate having the required skills to perform successfully. Finally, attribution theory analyzes motivation through 2 dimensions: locus of control, internal or external, and stability, stable or unstable. Students who show more fixed convictions about learning an instrument, namely that progress is dependent on individual talent, tend to show less motivation and less resilience to setbacks because they explain failure as a result of not having the required talent to achieve the performing standards. Conversely, students with more malleable views regarding their development tend to attain better outcomes because they explain their success in terms of effort exerted. We started our search on September the 8th, 2019 in Web of Science Education Resources Center, Information Center, and Scopus databases using the following keywords: instrument, learn, motivation, study, education, and music. Our inclusion criteria, as stated in the aims of this research, comprised quantitative studies, articles on both children and adolescents, and motivation to learn a musical instrument. In the end, our review comprised 20 articles. After removal of duplicates, we screened 442 articles. Through our supplementary search, we added an additional 5 articles. Out of these, 180 were excluded because they were either review, theoretical articles, books, chapters, meta-analyses, or non-English articles. Out of the resulting 267 articles, 199 were excluded because they were not related to the field. Thus, the resulting 68 articles were checked for eligibility according to the aforementioned inclusion criteria, with a further 48 being excluded, thus leaving 20 articles for our systematic review. Our search retrieved 3 articles comprising children samples, 7 on children and adolescents, and 10 on adolescents. As for the motivation theories, 2 articles on children used expectancy value theory and the other used self-determination theory. Children and adolescents articles borrowed the theories as shown: 2 self-determination theory, 1 attribution theory, 1 self and group efficacy and entity incremental theories, while 3 articles didn't specify any underlying theory. Finally, 3 adolescents articles made use of attribution theory, 2 articles of self-determination theory, 2 of achievement goal theory, 1 of self-regulation theory, and 2 didn't specify any theoretical lengths. We observed that expectancy value theory allowed researchers to assess motivation to learn a musical instrument before commencing learning, thus permitted investigators to understand the expectations, visions, and perceptions students bring to the learning process and how these impact on their subsequent engagement with music. Attribution theory permitted the observation that better outcomes are achieved when